Good morning, welcome. I am Stephen C., and you are at Steve C's on TikTok. This TikTok Live is our daily Course in Miracles review, where we review, discuss in depth the Course in Miracles lesson of the day and a corresponding portion of the text. I am here every day at 11 a.m. Central Time, hosting this discussion, hosting this interaction, this download, this transmission. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Please share this live, like this live, follow this account, and please comment today. During this live, let us know what you think. Please contribute to the discussion, our metaphysical discussion, our spiritual discussion about self-inquiry, impartial self-observation, metaphysics, mysticism, spirituality, awakening, enlightenment, esoteric Christianity, all of those things, ancient wisdom as they relate to ancient wisdom and the perennial philosophy. Again, welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your presence. If you miss any of the lives and you would like to catch up, or if you would like to peruse or survey some of the previous lives that have been recorded on TikTok, you can go to my YouTube channel at Steve C's on YouTube, STEVOSEES. The link is in my account bio, but let us now proceed. I like to begin each transmission, each broadcast, each live by reviewing the introduction to the Course in Miracles. This is the introduction to the text. To review this as a grounding exercise, if you will, an opening prayer, an orientation exercise in order to raise our vibration and bring us into harmony with the text, with our discussion, with this gathering together here this morning on TikTok. So the introduction to the Course in Miracles reads, this is a Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way: nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Love is all-encompassing according to the Course in Miracles, and the peace of God is the purpose, is our goal with the Course in Miracles. And interestingly enough, today, that is what the workbook lesson is about, the peace of God. The Course is divided into 3 sections. The entire book contains a text, a workbook, and a manual for teachers, which includes other supplemental material. The Course asks us to consider the idea that we are all teachers, that we are always teaching and always learning. We are teaching based on our beliefs. We are teaching all the time based on our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, and our words. And today we will be teaching and learning about the peace of God. Course in Miracles, the workbook, is set up to practice one idea per day. 365 ideas are the workbook portion of the Course in Miracles, one lesson per day. Today, Friday, July 4th, 2025, happy 4th of July. Happy Independence Day. Happy dependence on your inner orientation, your inner dependence, on the truth, your inner dependence on your source, on the source of all light and all love. So happy Interdependence Day. Lesson 185 today. This is July 4th, the 185th day of the year. We are already in the second half of the year, heading towards the new year already. On the downslope, if you will, we have reached the peak, and now we descend into the valley. So, lesson 185 today says, I want the peace of God. I want the peace of God, a core proposition in the Course in Miracles. As we just read in the introduction, nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. If I want the peace of God, I must learn to perceive things correctly, to perceive and to understand that nothing real can be threatened, that the truth cannot be threatened, that my true self cannot be threatened. My true self, capital S, cannot be hurt, harmed, or endangered. It has never been hurt, harmed, or endangered. I am perfectly safe in the mind of God, perfectly protected. I am, in fact, perfect, whole, and complete in the mind of God. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. And as will be discussed in this workbook lesson, my perception of illusion, my perception of lies, falsehoods, false idols, my false ideas, which create false impressions and perceptions, do not exist. They are part of a dream. They are an illusion, a hallucination. This world is a simulation. So this is a very advanced metaphysics that is being discussed in the Course in Miracles, being presented in the Course in Miracles, a profound metaphysics, but you are up to it. You are available for it. After all, you are here. You are participating. And so, vibrationally, your frequency has brought you here. Your frequency is in tune with the frequency of the Course in Miracles. Let's see what the workbook has to say today. I want the peace of God. First sentence, very important to first sentence of commentary here. To say these words is nothing, but to mean these words is everything. To say these words is nothing, but to mean these words is everything. If you could but mean them for just an instant, there would be no further sorrow possible for you in any form, in any place or time. Heaven would be completely given back to full awareness, memory of God entirely restored, the resurrection of all creation fully recognized. Resurrection of all creation is already true, has already happened, is happening, is constantly happening. And so the trick here, as we are told, is to fully recognize that fact. And there seems to be, resistance to the recognition of that fact. There seems to be a built-in resistance to the recognition of the truth, the full recognition of the truth, which would be heaven, the kingdom of heaven, completely given back to full awareness. To say these words is nothing. To mean these words is everything. If you could but mean them for just an instant, no further sorrow would be possible. Forever, anywhere. Heaven would be completely given back to full awareness. And so also another key idea here. Heaven is a condition or a state of mind. Heaven is a mindset. Heaven is a way of perceiving things, no matter where you are, no matter what time it is, no matter what the external conditions seem to be. Heaven is a state of consciousness. Consciousness, spirit, our perception of spirit in consciousness is the source, is the first cause, is the only true cause, is the truth. And so heaven, being the first cause, produces effects that follow, lawfully follow, from its own essence, from its own vibration. So the trick, the game, the experiment is one that proceeds and happens in consciousness, which is what is being discussed here in this workbook lesson. Continuing, it says, no one can mean these words and not be healed. He cannot play with dreams, nor think he is himself a dream. He cannot make a hell and think it real. He wants the peace of God, and it is given him. For that is all he wants, and that is all he will receive. Many have said these words, but few indeed have meant them. You have but to look upon the world you see around you to be sure how very few they are who mean them. The world would be completely changed should any two agree these words express the only thing they want. Okay, wherever two or more are gathered. So the world would be completely changed should any two agree. Agreement, these words express the only thing they want. Again, that is the tricky part. There's the rub. Okay? There seems to be something within us. There seems to be a trickster within. There seems to be a psychological condition within us which resists, which persists in distracting us from total, complete, and full awareness of perfection, of heaven, of sinlessness. And it is not just the perception or the acceptance of our own sinlessness, but since the mind is one and the mind is unified, it is perception of sinlessness of everyone and everything. So if you think about it, and if you are able to look inward and penetrate a little bit into your own soul, into your own thought system, into your own way of thinking and feeling, you may have to admit that my perception of the world is clouded, it is adulterated, it is mixed. Do I perceive the entire world as sinless? Can I even begin to approach an idea like that? Can I even begin to consider an idea like that? Or will I just wave it off? Will I just claim that a thought like that is ridiculous, impossible, untenable? Nonetheless, this instruction continues. Two minds with one intent can become so strong that what they will becomes the will of God. Aha. We will be getting some help here. We will be receiving help from a higher power. It's not going to be up just to us, right? Which is the ego consciousness, which is the ego position, the position of the separate self. I'll do it, and I'll do it by myself. No, actually, because of the laws of consciousness, because of the laws of the universe, because of the laws of creation, two minds agreeing upon one intent becomes so strong that together their will becomes the will of God. It is multiplied and magnified, for minds can only join in truth. In dreams, no two can share the same intent. Okay? We can only share the same intent in truth. To each, the hero of the dream is different. In the dream, in the illusion. Okay? The hero of the dream in each illusion, each separate illusion, is the separate self, is the ego consciousness, is the selfish, self-centered me, mine. To each, the hero of the dream is different. The outcome wanted is not the same for both. Loser and gainer merely shift about in changing patterns. As the ratio of gain to loss and loss to gain takes on a different aspect or another form. Now, let's read between the lines here. It's talking about two minds becoming one intent, two minds agreeing. Then it seems to suggest that those two minds wishing to agree somehow also think, believe, deep down, deep within, that no matter what happens, there's going to be a loser and a gainer. It may go back and forth. One may be up, the other may be down. Then the positions may reverse, and the ratio of gain to loss and loss to gain takes on a different aspect or another form. Nonetheless, the conditioned mind that has produced the world that we see, is a world defined by losers and winners, winners and losers. And we may not be a winner over there, we might be a loser over there, but over here, now I'm a winner. And then over there again, I might be a winner, and over here, a loser. So I am constantly shifting about. This shifting about, this looking about outside of me for gain, is the problem, is the contradiction. The winning resides within us. The winning has to be looked for where it is. The winning, the sovereignty, the freedom, the happiness, the joy has to be found where it is. It is not found externally. It is not found, as Michael Beckwith says, by rearranging the deck chairs of the Titanic. Doesn't matter how you arrange the deck chairs on the Titanic, whatever the seating chart looks like, the whole thing is going down. That is ego consciousness. And so we wish to find Christ consciousness, the I am consciousness, the unified consciousness, the non-dual consciousness is our pursuit, is our purpose, is our goal. By the way, we're already there. It's already been achieved. We're taking a journey, Course says, which is already complete. We are seeking that which has already been found, which is why you get people like Neville Goddard, Neville, suggesting that we rest in the end. Or as it says in the scriptures, when you pray, know that you already have received. Pray in secret. Know that your Father has already given it to you, and it will be given to you openly. What Neville Goddard is talking about, what Joel Goldsmith is talking about, Ernest Holmes is talking about, Emily Cady is talking about, what Mary Baker Eddy is talking about, is resting in the end. Scientific prayer, already knowing that that which is desired is already given. It is already in your possession. Your possession of it in consciousness, your acknowledgement of it in consciousness, your vision, Course in Miracles calls it, your imagination, Neville Goddard calls it, Christ consciousness, according to Neville Goddard, being your imagination, according to the Course in Miracles, being your vision. Same idea, different form, but the acceptance, the embodiment of the feeling of the acceptance of the allowing of the final condition. And here, the desired state. Here, the desired state in the Course in Miracles is the ultimate state of truth, okay? The state of perfection. So we're going to practice perfection. We're going to claim perfection, maybe not out loud. We're going to claim it internally. And then we're going to practice that, right? So the commentary here continues, compromise brings dreams, illusions, compromise. Sometimes it takes the form of union or oneness or atonement, attunement, alignment, coherence, but only the form. The meaning must escape the dream, for compromising is the goal of dreaming. Minds cannot unite in dreams, they merely bargain. And what bargain can give them the peace of God? Okay? I want the peace of God, so I do not want compromises. I do not want illusions, no more dreaming, just the truth, please. Illusions come to take the place of God. What bargain could give them the peace of God? Illusions come to take his place. What he means is lost to sleeping minds intent on compromise, each to his gain and to another's loss. Okay, let's make a deal under the auspices of the ego consciousness. Let's make a deal and let me gain from it. Let me gain from you. Let's not talk about what you will lose. Let's not talk about the fact that win-win doesn't really mean win-win, which may be the case. It may not be the case. You may have figured it out to some degree, but the idea of capitalism, as explained by Adam Smith and as expounded upon by subsequent economic authors, is, and as it is in its current form, is not quite the right idea. As it's just been stated, look around, just look around. Is the truth evenly distributed? Is access to the truth evenly distributed? Is access to the wealth evenly distributed? Is it available to everyone? Or are there side deals, backroom deals, secret contracts being made, being executed? Does everybody have all the information, or is the information, the market information, whatever information, the political information, the market information, the product information, is it free? Is it given to everyone, or is it controlled? So, just to understand the way the economy works at the corporate level, at the political level, at the international level, is to understand that it is being operated, that it has been conceived by, and is being operated by ego consciousness, by the separate self, by definition, by an elite, by an oligarchy, by a separate set of individuals. By definition, separate, incomplete, fragmented, therefore not the truth, therefore full of compromise, therefore part of a dream, part of an illusion, not the truth. Okay? So, paragraph 5, to mean you want the peace of God is to renounce all dreams, for no one means these words who wants illusions and therefore seeks the means which bring illusions. He has looked on them and found them wanting. Now he seeks to go beyond them. Okay, this is transcendence. This is not solving the problem at the level of the problem. This is going beyond the problem. In consciousness, this is rising above the market. This is rising above the battlefield. This is transcendence. This is a new mindset, a new paradigm, a new man, a new woman, he seeks to go beyond them, recognizing that another dream would offer nothing more than all the others, right? The Great Reset, Great Reset is apparently in the works at Davos, at Bilderberg, at the elite resorts, at the Aspen Institute, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, at the think tanks. The solutions being sought there, again, is just a new illusion, a new scheme. A new story, a new narrative to keep us going along, to keep you going along. Not really to solve the problem, just to reform it, just to hide the parts, to hide the rotten, deathly decomposing filth that the current system throws off, just hiding that, just wiping it off the books, writing it off, forgetting about it. And shifting the burden somewhere else. Guess where that somewhere else is. So, Course in Miracles is talking about is a thought system, is a vibration and a frequency that completely transcends that mess. That dream, that illusion, that system, that mechanism that always breaks down. Its final outcome is always the opposite of life, or what we refer to on TikTok as the big D. The opposite of life, the big D. Destruction, disorganization, disunity, fragmentation. Okay, to mean you want the peace of God is to renounce the dreams, the mind, which means that all it wants is peace, must join with other minds, for that is how peace is obtained. And when the wish for peace is genuine, the means for finding it is given. So a desire, a genuine desire, a sincere intent is what the universe is looking for. Authenticity. Whatever form the lesson takes is planned for him in such a way that he cannot mistake it if his asking is sincere. When the wish for peace is genuine, the means for finding it is given in a form each mind that seeks for it in honesty can understand. Okay? Given in a form that can be understood. Given as a symbol that can be properly interpreted. Given in the form of another dream, by the way. As all the dream analysts understand, a language of symbolism, the language of mythology, the language of symbols, the divine language, wisdom, the divine feminine, the right hemisphere of the brain, okay, the unconscious, speaking to the conscious mind in symbols, in metaphors. Okay? Presented in a way he cannot mistake if his asking is sincere. But if he asks without sincerity, there is no form in which the lesson will meet with acceptance and be truly learned. So, right? We mess up ourselves, we screw ourselves through lack of sincerity, through cynicism, through doubt, through fear. So it says, let's practice today and really mean the words we say. Understand that by saying these words, the communication with God, the atonement, the attunement, the correct frequency will go beyond the words to the experience. I want the peace of God. I want the experience of the peace of God. I want the experience of God. Pure, complete confidence, security, knowledge, understanding, happiness, peace, joy, freedom, complete 100% all the time, everywhere, without fail. That is the state of mind. That is the state of being toward which we aim, toward which we are now voluntarily reconditioning ourselves, retraining our own minds with the help of a higher power, the Holy Spirit, the representative of God, Jesus, the Son, and the Father on earth, the Holy Spirit, the divine feminine, which is the bridge back to the Father, back to heaven, back to our true home, back to the source. So take your brother's hand, your brother Jesus, and every other brother, place it in the hand of your mother, follow your mother home. Okay? Even these words are symbols, these words are metaphors. Okay? So the words have to be reinterpreted, transformed, transmuted through an alchemical process in consciousness to the experience. So the words have to be digested, they have to be ingested, digested, they have to become a part of the psyche, balanced, harmonized, ordered within the psyche, within the mind, within consciousness. Okay? So, like Carl Jung, like Joseph Campbell, like others, James Hillman, Robert Moore, etc., 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 Maria von Franz, Tony Wolff, and others. Okay? Learn, understand what Greek mythology means. Understand comparative religion. Understand the perennial philosophy. Understand fairy tales, folk tales, mythology. Understand it. Transmute it into your own experience of your own psyche, of your own consciousness, and achieve heaven, achieve integration, achieve an integral consciousness, according to Ken Wilber, or an individuated self, according to Dr. Jung, or actualization, according to Maslow. Okay. Or self-empowerment, according to Alfred Adler. You have to kind of study, you have to kind of figure it out. You have to understand the metaphor that is contained in the Bible. Really not interested if it was a real person, really not interested in vicarious atonement, really not interested in a historical event. What does it mean? What is the meaning of it? historical or not. Historical Jesus, that's fine. No problem. Have at it. Party on. But a vicarious atonement? Kind of a strange idea. Like a vicarious job, which happens a lot in Chicago, my hometown. The vicarious job, you don't have to show up for it, but you get paid anyway. Right? The patronage, otherwise known as graft or corruption. So how exactly does that work? For you Christians, by the way, again, Irish Catholic boy here, how exactly does that work? Of course, if you're an Irish Catholic boy like me, you don't really get to ask those kind of questions. Mom doesn't want to answer those questions. Dad doesn't want to answer those questions. You're going to have to find out. The priest, the nuns, don't really want to answer those questions. The Pope doesn't even really want to answer those questions. You must turn within to find the answers to the questions. Thus, this Catholic boy ends up talking about the Course in Miracles. There you have it. So we are devoting our practice period today to careful searching of your mind, to find the dreams you still cherish, the illusions, the delusions that you still operate from. What do you ask for in your heart? Forget the words you use in making your requests. Consider only what you believe. Consider only what you believe will comfort you and bring you happiness. Be not dismayed by lingering illusions, for their form is not what matters now. Okay? So we're going to intention. We're heading toward the intangible here. Depth, psychology, depth, spirituality, a deep dive into consciousness, a deep dive into the subconscious, into the shadow, okay, the language of the heart. What is your intent? What is the meaning? What is the devotion to? So it says, ask one question of the dreams, of the shame, of the secrecy. Ask one question: is this what I would have in place of heaven and the peace of God? Okay, so there is a choice. Would I be sick? Would I be poor? Would I be limited? Would I have limited access, limited travel, limited engagement? Or would I have it all? Okay, in a balanced sense, of course, not in an addictive sense, not in an out of balanced manner, not filled with hubris, not filled with self-inflation, but have it all quietly, confidently, easily, effortlessly. Would I have the peace of God? This is the choice you make. Okay, so it goes on for several more paragraphs. I'll let you take a look at yourself so that we can go quickly to the text and see exactly how it corresponds with this lesson. But go to acim.org online. Go check it out. Finish that lesson yourself. I want the peace of God. I do not want the dreams. I do not want the illusions. I do not want the frustrations. Okay? So the corresponding portion of the text today, we'll review this very quickly. Running out of time here. This is chapter 21, section 6. It's called Reason versus Madness. Yesterday, we talked about the importance of reason. And some examples were given. Some reasoning was engaged in the text, of Course in Miracles. So now, today, reason versus madness, which is what we just talked about, of course, in the lesson. I want the peace of God. I don't want the dreams and illusions. I don't want the agitation. So it says here very quickly, we'll just cover a couple paragraphs here. Again, go check it out yourself. Read it for yourself. Ask ChatGTP about it. ChatGTP, I believe, does have access to this. So it can also answer your questions about reason versus madness. Ask ChatGTP to summarize chapter 21, section 6 of the text. Reason cannot see sin, but can see errors and leads to their correction. It does not value them, but their correction. Okay, so let's be reasonable. Let's correct our errors. Reason will also tell you that when you think you sin, you call for help. Yet if you will not accept the help you call for, you will not believe that it's yours to give. And so you will not give it, thus maintaining the belief, for uncorrected error of any kind deceives you about the power that is in you to make correction. If it can correct, and you allow it not to do so, you deny it to yourself and to your brother. If he shares this same belief, you both will think that you are damned. This you could spare him and yourself, for reason would not make way for correction in you alone. And remember, we just talked about in the lesson agreeing with a brother, intending to think in union, in oneness with a brother. Now, here it is in the text: reason or madness, agreement or illusions, agreement or dreams. Okay, oneness or illusions, reason or madness. So we have to understand, again, it's talking about a non-dual consciousness. If it's true for me, it's true for you. If you believe the opposite, you are the one that is under that judgment. You have judged, and you have judged me, and you have judged yourself. Once you understand that as you judge me, so you judge yourself, then you will begin to judge me differently. I will judge you differently. I will judge you as I wish to be. This is the operation of reason and correction. So it says correction cannot be accepted or refused by you without your brother. Reason tells you you cannot see your brother or yourself as sinful and still perceive the other innocent. Okay, our thought systems are total, which is another word for complete. Our thought systems are total. It cannot be partial. That duality, right, seeing things as different, not seeing things as one, not seeing everything as connected, interrelated, interpersonal, says, who looks upon himself as guilty and sees a sinless world. And who can see a sinless world and look upon himself apart from it? sin would maintain you and your brother must be separate. So again, it's talking about an unconscious perception. We don't really perceive this. Reason tells you this must be wrong. Okay? Seeing ourselves as separate from one another causes all kinds of problems. Just watch the news. Just watch your feed. Believing in separation causes all kinds of problems. So start to believe in unity. Start to believe in oneness. And keep believing in it. My study of the Course in Miracles, my belief in oneness, my belief in unity has proceeded for 25 plus years now. 30 years. Okay, so once you're hooked, once you're really hooked, you're hooked. Okay, let us be fishers of men. If you and your brother are joined, how could it be that you have private thoughts? How could thoughts that enter into but seems like yours alone have no effect at all on what is yours? If minds are joined, this is impossible. And the reason, capital R, that the Course is talking about, says if bodies are separate, then minds are joined. If the mind, according to Descartes, is the opposite or separate from the body, and if bodies seem separate, therefore minds must be joined. And since God is one, your mind is joined with the mind of God. That is reality. Therefore, the body is unreality. Therefore, the body is an illusion. Therefore, you are not your body. Eventually, yes, from a certain perspective, from the Eastern perspective, you are not your thoughts either. Of course, you are not your ego thoughts. You are a thought of God, however. The unified field, Brahman, is Atman. So remember that when you hear the idea expressed that you are not your thoughts. Yes, you are not your ego thoughts. Ego thoughts are like the body. Ego thoughts are generated by the body. The body is generated by ego thoughts. No one can think for himself. God thinks not without his Son. Only bodies can be separate and therefore unreal. The home of madness cannot be the home of reason. Okay? The body does not separate you from your brother. Okay? Because minds are joined. Therefore, if everybody has a mind, no matter what level it operates on, but if there is consciousness, therefore, you are one with it. That field of consciousness, that quantum field, is unified. Okay? It has everything. It possesses everything. That is why you can manifest anything, because in the quantum field is all potential. Every timeline, every variation, pure potential, called forth, called into manifestation by thought, by the word, by your declaration, by your embodiment. Okay? The body does not separate you from your brother. If you think it does, you are insane, but madness has a purpose. To see the body as a barrier is insane. Nor could you see the body if you heard the voice of reason. What can there be that stands between what is continuous? And if there is nothing in between this discussion we had yesterday, okay, lesson 184 yesterday, you can go to the YouTube channel and check out that discussion from yesterday. Reason would tell you this. If there's nothing in between, how can what enters part be kept away from other parts? Okay, the part is the whole. It is a holographic universe. Okay, it doesn't have to be proven, it can be reasoned. The reasoning is the proof. The reasoning, if it is allowed to settle, if it is embodied, proves itself. The thoughts prove themselves in experience. That is the proof. Your experience is the proof. The scenarios, the relationships, the environments are the proof. So I will leave it here for today. Thank you for joining. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for the likes and comments. I'm here every day at 11 a.m. Central Time. I'll be here tomorrow at that time. So for today, peace and blessings. Love you. Have a great day. I will talk to you tomorrow.